Yeah. That went to village actually.
Okay, so this is how this training is going to go. There's going to be a lot of stuff in here you guys already know. What I don't want to happen is last time I did this and Andy and TJ were in it, they kept stopping me and going, well, I do this, well, I do this, well, I do this. So I was not able to get through it. So I know you will know some of this stuff, and I know you do things differently than probably I do. What I want you to do is just sit, listen, take notes, try to get at least 2 to 3 things that maybe you didn't know out of it, and let me just go through it so you can get those things, because what happens is when you stop me, I forget things, and then you're going to miss stuff that you don't know. So let me just run through it and write down any questions you have, take notes as we're going through it, and there will be some stuff that you don't know in here, okay? But there'll be a lot of stuff you do know, and that's okay too, okay? This is the training that I set up to do, you know, agents that haven't ever done any sort of listings before. So of course, call intake, we are using the seller intake sheet. You guys should have that by now. If you don't, Andy is going to go over that more thoroughly next Tuesday. And I also gave you guys the expired script that was written by Cardone, so you can start practicing that between now and next Tuesday, because that's what we're going to script back and forth on Tuesday. So we are going to start getting into the Mojo Dialer, and we are going to be calling expireds with that script, and we are going to be calling, we have another script that's from a group that I'm in called For Sale by Owner, Dominion or Domination or something like that, and we have some docs out of there that we're going to use for that. So I am not going to dive deep on expireds or For Sale by Owners separately right now, just on listing homes, because this goes for expireds or For Sale by Owners or whatever. So depending on what it is, you're going to have different scripts, but you do have scripts for each of those. So this is the expired script to start practicing first, all right? So the main point of the call intake, of course, is to build rapport and show value, of course, just like any other call. You want to take lots and lots of notes and ask lots and lots of questions. The more questions, the more notes you have, the better. And never, ever, ever, ever give a price. That is like super vital, because people will be like, well, I called in such and such said this price or this price. We would be doing a disservice to you to give you a price over the phone, because when we come, we may see something that another house doesn't have that yours does. And those people that gave you a price over the phone don't know that, because they couldn't see that awesome bar in your basement. Or maybe there was old, outdated photos on the MLS. So we want to come and visually see it, right? The big point is obviously to set an appointment, because you can't get an accurate price until you do the homework, of course, and see the home. To do the homework, so when I go to do homework, I pull the public records data, of course, the old MLS ticket, of course, and then I go on to BSA. Do you guys all know where BSA is? Have you ever used BSA? Okay.
Yeah.
So here's where you're going to learn something new. So BSA is actually connected directly to all the cities and counties sites. So when you go in there, you'll get more than what you get on public records. So there's lots of data that's missing on public records that you can get off of the BSA site. It is, yes. So when you go in, you can simply Google BSA, tax assessor, and it should come up. And once you get it, of course, you can just highlight it on your separate computer. Let me show you what it looks like real quick. So it looks like this. And let's go through. All right, to be able to cast it, I have to do this. Cast. No, it doesn't want to cast for us. But anyways, this is what it looks like. You can see from there, right, Shane? So you can go in here and you can pick any municipality, any county, and some of them will have a fee. It's like $1 if you're looking in Redford. But the cool thing is these have sketches, these have accurate tax information. So you'll be able to find out if the sellers are back on their taxes, if they're back on their water bills. Downriver, Lincoln Park and stuff like that, they have utility bills in there. They'll give you information that we don't have on RealComp for public records. They'll give you a lot more deed information in here too. So always go into this BSA and pull this as well. And that also helps you because you can highlight differences between what public records the MLS ticket and the VSA say, so that when you go, you have things to talk about. Like, hey, I noticed this here, but not here, because sometimes sellers aren't going to give up information that you would find by cross-referencing those 3 sources, right? And you can be like, oh, this, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot when I bought the house, blah, 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 right? One of the houses we went and looked at, like the neighbor's stuff was on the land of the property that we were looking at. And it's like, oh, they didn't think to even disclose that because it's something that was just mentioned when they bought it, and then they never thought about it again, right? So you would find that out on this BSA software. So check the PRD, check the MLS, check the BSA, and then build out your CMA. Always have somebody give your CMAs a second look. No matter how long you've been doing this. I do it with Andy still. I have him look at everything I price. And I mean, I've priced over 10,000 listings. That used to be what I did at the old office, was price every single listing that went on the market. And not only that, I still price for banks and stuff. But it's so important because you may be stressed out today and you miss something so small that has a huge effect on price. So always have somebody else give it the second eyes. And then I always pre-fill out my listing paperwork and take it with me. So I always pull the listing package down, fill it all in. I leave the price blank, and I leave, I actually put listing dates in there. I put that I'm listing at the date I'm going, and I put it 6 months out. And if they need to change, they can always cross off an initial, but I like to assume everything except what we're going to price it at. So I fill out everything. And if I got to change the dates, that's not a big deal. But if I already have it in, then they don't know to, ask about it. Like, oh, well, if I'm asking, well, you want to do 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months, then they're going to think they have an option. But if I already just have it in for 6 months, it might not be a source of contention, and it's less things you got to talk about, right? So I already have all of those things already filled in on my listing paperwork. Deciding on the presentation. So a lot of people get really caught up in like, I need this listing presentation. You really don't. Very honestly, the less information, a lot of times the better, because we live in a captive audience kind of world, and they don't want to sit and see all that crap. So a lot of people, most of the time, I just do a simple one-liner for them. Especially if you're in a neighborhood where it's all cookie cutter. If it's all brick ranches, it's going to be very easy for them to see every 1,000 square foot brick ranch sells for the same amount. Now, right now in this market, it's tough to build out these CMAs right now because there's not a lot of inventory, so not a lot of stuff is sold. So some of the neighborhoods that used to be easy to do a one-liner, you do have to do that CMA. I really rarely use that full listing presentation, and I know TJ doesn't either, but what you can do for the full listing presentation, if you just want to have one that you have people look at or that you leave with them, go on breakthroughbroker.com. That's where mine came from, and that's where TJ's came from. And we simply print them and put them into the little packages with the clear top and just leave them with them. Because basically all that is information about you and about your company and some reviews and stuff like that. And a lot of times in this digital age, like, people have already looked at that stuff. But if you want a full listing presentation, that's where literally 95% of agents come from, is freebreakthroughbroker.com. So knowing the difference, obviously. So building out a CMA. Some important things to know: if you are urban, like big city, Detroit, Flint, you want to be on the same block, never more than a quarter mile, never more than 6 months. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac guidelines, when they go out to appraise the property, they're not going to let you exceed those. Suburban Livonia Ranch, half mile, 6 months. Again, I started a quarter and worked my way out. Rural Manchester farm areas, 2 to 4 miles, 6 to 9 months. Always start in a quarter, work your way out. They weight heaviest, the age. So making sure you put those ages in, 80s to 90s, to 80s to 90s, 2000 up. Then your style, ranches to ranches, colonials to colonials. The way they go in order, depending on the area, it's usually ranches are most, then colonials, then your bungalows, and last your bi-level, tri-levels as far as values go. So be very careful with that, because a lot of houses, they look like a colonial, but they're a bi-level, tri-level, and that's a difference of like $20,000. It used to be they want to see 3 active, 3 sold. Right now in this market, that's super hard to do. So I've been using a lot of pendings in place of those actives. And then as far as sold, sometimes I'll use more sold since there's less pendings than actives. And then highlight and point out your differences. Tom, you weren't here, but you're going to be quiet until the very end, and then you can ask and say whatever you want to add. So highlight and point out your differences and updates for time and market points. So when I'm running this and I pull my properties and I build out my CMA, I print it all out And then I'll actually just like hand write on there, unless I'm taking like a laptop or something with me, but I'll just hand write like granite countertops, this, and this. This one is, you know, REO property. So when I'm sitting with them, if I'm not doing a minor, if I actually have a CMA, I'll say, so this property has, you know, granite, cherry oak, as you can see here. This one has this, and this. This one has this, and this. Which one do you think your home is most like? And always ask them what they think their home is most like. We never want to say, your house is the same as this comparable, right? Because then they're on the defense. We always ask them what they think. Which one do you think your house is most like? And if you have a laptop or a tablet to bring with you, all the better, right? If you can throw it, like Cardone says in those videos, if you can throw a tablet in their hands so that they can look themselves and they feel more in control and they can see the photos in color, that's even better. So if you can build out your CMA, save it on the desktop of that tablet, open it up for them, and have it open where you can flip through and say, all right, which one do you think your property looks most like? Okay, so what do you think that the pricing, what do you think we should price it at in between here? Because they're going to say, well, what do you think? Well, it's not up to me to decide what the price of your home is. There are 3 different scenarios of how my clients like to price their homes. Number 1, they price them according to wanting to sell as quick as possible. So they price them at the low end of the market so they can get multiple offers, drive it back up, and get an offer as quickly as possible. Number 2, they have plenty of time. They're in no hurry to sell, so they price it at the top of the market, and then every couple weeks we bring it down. Make sure you add that part every couple weeks we bring it down, or they're not going to anticipate those steps. Or number 3, they price it according to market value and what we're looking at right here, and they let the market decide what's going to go on with the property. And again, we always revisit every 2 weeks. So set up that expectation in their mind that, hey, I'm going to be talking to you very often, but every 2 weeks we're going to decide, do we need to move this price? That's like a set in stone date. Every 2 weeks we're going to decide, what do we need to do price-wise, if anything. And then you're going to mention to them, of course, a lot of our listings sell quicker depending on where they've been with pricing and their mind points and things of that nature. Something I don't have in here when you're building out the CMAs that I've been adding, of course, to all the CMAs is the graphs, right? So we want to go on to Real Comp and we want to pull those graphs. Everybody knows how to pull the graphs off Real Comp, right? So, yeah, the showing time graphs. And is everybody utilizing those in their listing presentations and their CMAs right now? Those are super, super vital because even if people don't want to, you know, listen to you on the pricing, they can't get around those graphs, right? Those are very clear about what they show. So make sure when you're doing your CMA that you're pulling those graphs as well. You guys all know how to go on here, how to search on Real Comp, how to pull your comparables. So I'm just going to kind of walk through one really quick after I go through this. So this is what mine and TJ's listing presentation looks like off of Breakthrough Broker. Ours are almost identical, I think, because you probably got it off of mine when we first did this. But it's just like, it goes through, you know, they're generic and you put your stuff in here. So you just add your logo, you add your experience in the business, you know, information about you and your family, any hobbies, any charities. You go on to about your business, if you went to college, when you got your licensing, if you were in other industries that are related to this. And all of these like little blocks that have our information in it, that I have my information in, they all come with like some generic stuff in there. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I gotta like come through and like redo all this. Or if you want, I can send you mine and you can just manipulate the little individual things too and keep all the Elite Realty General stuff in there. So I can send this over to you. And then you go through a tell me about your house thing. And this is another reason why neither of us really utilize this like full out listing presentation. You want to utilize it like maybe if you're at a home in Birmingham where you're going to be sitting there for a while, you got your laptop open and you're like, okay, in the next 20 minutes, we're going to talk about what drew you to this home when you bought it, right? What was your favorite feature of this house? I like to ask these questions still no matter what. And I usually have like a little piece of paper that has some of these questions on them. What do you like about your neighborhood? What are some nearby attractions and amenities? What don't you like about it? These are all super important questions to ask because if there's something they don't like about it, like say the neighbor's super crazy, right? Well, if you're having showings we need to know that the neighbor is super crazy. So that's a super important thing to ask about. And then what they liked about the neighborhood and the nearby attractions, the nearby amenities, and the favorite feature of the house. We want to ask those because that's stuff we want to put in the MLS ticket, right? Some houses, they're plain, so there's not a lot to put in the MLS ticket. But if you ask these questions, you may find out, like I had one in Novi, and she's like, oh yeah, right across the street, they're putting in a park. That's going to be a high school. So when you're looking at it, you can't see any of these things, but because they live there, they know all these things that are going on, right? Oh, there's a pool right around the block. There's a clubhouse. So make sure you have some sort of guide like this of questions that you're going to discuss with them and talk about, and you're not just trying to wing it, because you probably likely won't remember to ask these specific questions. And then, of course, other important questions. Why are you moving? You should have already asked this on your phone call. It doesn't hurt to kind of touch on it just to get a little deeper into the why of things, because they may be moving to relocate, but when they're relocating, like, for example, my Gloria listing is a great one, right? They wanted to list and sell because they wanted to relocate. Great. So in my mind, I'm like, you need to do this fast, right? You're already in Florida. Well, they didn't need to do it fast. They don't owe any money on the house. They're absolutely in no hurry at all. They're in love with the house. They built the house. They raised their kids there. So they really don't, like, them moving to Florida wasn't actually the reason why they wanted to list it. Their actual reason why they listed the property is because their kids wanted them to. That's it. Like, they don't need to sell it, and they don't want to sell it. And I didn't dig deep enough to realize that until now that I've had the listing for so many months, that they really have no wants or intentions to probably sell. Which, by the way, they don't want to rent. So why are you moving? You really need to dig deep on that. Keep asking. Okay, so you want to move because you relocate. So if I got you an offer tomorrow for this price, is there anything that would hold you back from taking that offer? Well, we want to make sure this, or we want to make sure that, or whatever it is. How soon do you need to move? That, of course, is super vital. Question, what are you looking for from your agent? That's important to ask them, and a lot of people don't ask. What are you looking for from your agent? What is most important to you in an agent? Because you may say, oh, I'm really great with communication. I always pick up my phone, blah, 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 blah. And they don't care. They don't want to talk to you. They just want the agent that's going to get them the most money out of the house, right? So you have to ask them what specifically they're looking for in an agent. Maybe they had an agent before who never talked to them, and so they want an update every other day. They want an agent that's going to check in with them every 48 hours. If you don't ask, you don't know, and then you're going to be the same as that other agent, giving them the same issues that they had before. So make sure you ask that. Do you anticipate any major challenges when selling your home? This is also very important. You may not know that there's, a kid down the road who acts out and runs down the street without any pants on. I mean, there's crazy stuff that happens in neighborhoods, and you won't know those just by going there. So ask them if they anticipate any major challenges when selling the home. And what will you do if your home doesn't sell? Here's another question that a lot of people never ask. What if it doesn't sell? What are you going to do? Are you going to keep dropping the price? Are you going to just quit and take it off the market? Have you thought about that? Is that a scenario? Are you balancing 2 mortgage payments? So make sure you ask these important questions and you have listed these two so that you can know what you have ahead of you, right? Why I'm the best realtor for you. So, of course, this is going to be different for everybody, and you're really going to want to suit that around what they just told you they wanted in a realtor, right? Oh, why am I the best realtor for you? Well, because I'm going to call you every 48 hours, because I'm the best negotiator, because I'm going to get the best price for you, because I'm going to sell it the fastest, because we have in-house buyers. Whatever they said, you're going to feed off of that for what you're going to talk about next. Making sure that you tell them that you're going to be very honest and open with them. People really appreciate that, because salespeople a lot of times have that reputation for just telling people what they want to hear. And when you tell people what they want to hear, that doesn't get either of you anywhere any faster or any better. Again, I'm not going to go through all of this, but this has your testimonials right in it. If you don't have testimonials, like whenever I made this forever and ever ago, I didn't have any testimonials on Zillow at the time that I made it. So these are actually like my sister-in-law, somebody who I worked with at a mortgage company, and my cousin, right? So it's like, if you don't have them, find them from somewhere or call somebody and say, hey, if somebody asked you how good of an agent I was, what would you say? And take some quotes from them over the phone. So just because you don't have it on Zillow or on Realtor doesn't mean that you should leave this out. You should still always give people some quotes and some references and some good stuff said about you. The rest of this is just stuff that's automatically in there, blah, blah, blah. This is kind of a cool thing that they have in there. No, that's not it. That's not what I'm looking for. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, see, and this is another reason why I don't use the full listing presentation, because it's really long, right? This is a lot of stuff. Okay, so moving past listing presentations. So your first walkthrough, when you pull up to a home, I always make sure that when I drive up to a home, I park on the opposite side of the street, and I take a minute to take drive up inventory. What is drive up inventory? Drive up inventory is to look at the exterior of the home and take note of all the different things that are outside.
Are you going to give us a copy of all this that you're going through?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I can send this to you guys. Sure.
I just don't want to write it all down.
No problem. Yep. So drive up inventory. So if I see a Michigan State flag outside, if I see my son's in the Navy bumper sticker, if I see a Harley in the driveway, if I see that the yard is super clean, if I see that the yard is a mess, I want to look at the exterior to know, number one, what I'm getting into for my listing, number two, what I might need to tell them to take care of, and number three, what kind of person am I about to talk to, and what do I have to talk to them about? This is the first thing that gets like really personal with them, of things you're going to be able to make conversations, because we all know it's not really about your skills as a realtor as much as if they like you. They're going to hire you if they like you. So if you walk in talking to them about their Green Bay Packer flag outside and how you love the Green Bay Packers and, you know, you're a cheesehead and you live there forever, then you're going to immediately be on their good side. So drive up inventory is super important because it tells you a lot about what's going to happen next, okay? What to talk to them about, where to get on the same page as them, and where to find those inner details of what's going to be going on. When you knock on the door, so when you walk up to the door, you're going to want to, and we're going to go out and field train, and not next week, but the week after, we'll actually all go to a house and go through our different styles of doing this. But just to kind of go a quick one, knock on the door, take a step back so that they can see you, because a lot of people will look out the window, and if they can't see you, they're like, you know, they start to get freaked out. When they open the door, guys, make sure you shake a woman's hand like you would shake a dude's hand, okay? Like, I literally didn't hire an advisor for Trent just because he shook my hand like a dead fish. I'm like, seriously, like, how good are you going to negotiate for my kid if you can't even shake somebody's hand? It's ridiculous. So make sure, even if it's a woman, you don't shake their hand like a dead fish. Make sure you make eye contact. Eye contact is something that I often forget about, because for a long time I didn't make eye contact with people because of my eyes. So it's like, but I had a client complain one time to one of my bosses that I didn't make eye contact with him ever. And it made him feel like I was just trying to be dismissive of him and get him out of the office. So it's very important to shake hands with authority, make eye contact, and if there is two people there, say, all right, who's going to give you the tour? Who's going to give you the tour? And take note of who takes the lead. Whoever takes the lead is likely going to be your decision maker, right? So, ask if you can take pictures. Say, listen, hey, I got my phone here. I'm going to take some pictures, not necessarily for the listing, but for my own memory when I get back to the office, okay? Because when you're doing that first walkthrough, there are going to be things that you see that you may not want to write down so that they see you writing it down, and you may not want to necessarily ask about, but you want to remember later, right? Like, maybe you want to remember later to email them to clean up the dog crap in the backyard or something, but you don't want to have that like awkward first conversation when you're first meeting them. So snap pictures of things that maybe you need to talk to them about later, or it could be good details, right? Like if you walk through a house and they have like this killer basement with like all this awesome stuff that you want to remember to put in the listing ticket, you can snap some pictures of that. So always snap pictures with your phone on your first walkthrough and let them know it's okay that it's not ready for listing. These are just for me for homework purposes when I get back to the office. Sit at the kitchen table. It is very, very important that you guys always sit at the kitchen table when you go to listing appointments. Don't sit on the couch together and chairs together. That is not where people do business. They do business at the kitchen table. And some people will be like, well, what if the kitchen table is dirty? I sit there anyways, and they'll start cleaning it off, and it's not a problem. Because that's where you can sign contracts at. You can't sign contracts on your lap while you're sitting on a couch. You need to be at a table. Ask questions and take notes. So as you're walking through the property, ask different questions about things, right? This is another way where you can start to form a relationship. Like, oh, there's pineapples on these curtains. Are you guys big? Who's the big fan of pineapples here? Have you guys ever been to Hawaii? Do you like pineapples on your pizza? Whatever. Like, try to find those common threads and commonalities together through asking questions about the house and, again, making friends there. When you get to the lockbox, or when you get to the table to sign the contracts, I always bring a lockbox and I always set it on the table. That is a subconscious move that, hey, we're going to be listing this property. I always set it on the table and I always ask them for something to drink. Hey, would you be able to get me a glass of water? That's another subconscious thing that kind of puts them in more of, for lack of a better word, like a submissive role to you being the dominant person in the conversation, right? Because you want to make sure that you're always in control of what is going on as you're walking through this process with them. I know one thing that TJ does is he always carries that bag, and when he walks in, he's always like, where can I set my things down at? And that's another thing that's like subconsciously asserting dominance of, I'm setting my things here. So I do it with a lockbox. You can do it with whatever you want. And then it's your time to show what you know. This is where you pull out those graphs, you pull out that CMA, and you start going through those details of, hey, what do we think the price is going to be at? Here's what the market's doing, and here's what all the things are happening with it. Everybody knows how to fill out a contract, so I'm not going to go through this. The MLS input, I'm just going to touch on some of these things because I see this in a lot of our listings, and it may not be in yours, but just in case it is. First and foremost, fix the pictures. There's so many of our listings that have terrible pictures. Do not put pictures of toilets, of hot water heaters, of, like, if it wouldn't make you want to buy the house, don't put it on the MLS ticket. I feel like some people think it's a competition to have the most pictures on their MLS ticket. I'm going to tell you from just going through being a buyer myself, when I had to look through 78 pictures, I was like, this is a waste of my freaking time. Like, pictures through screens, pictures of countertops, pictures of birds. Like, are the birds going to make me want to buy this house? This stuff is crazy, guys. Like, if it's not a picture of something that would make you personally want to buy the house, do not include it in the MLS. It is more than sufficient for you to have front exterior, back exterior, living room, kitchen, 1 or 2 bedrooms, a bathroom if it's awesome, maybe a basement if it's finished. Like, literally, that's all you need. You do not need 150 pictures, and there's so many agents that have them. It's just annoying. Fill everything all the way out. This is another thing I see a lot where if it's a Detroit listing or a Garden City listing, people just put in the bare minimum. The bare minimum makes people think something's wrong with the house. I will tell you that. Like, if there's no comments in there, when I talk to people, they're like, yeah, there's nothing in there, so it must be terrible inside. It can be great inside, but if you put nothing, that is automatically what they think. If there is nothing, if you can't get creative with it, what I do is, I try to verbally map out if you were walking up and through the house. So I'll say, right, you're just talking about this like standard house. 3-bedroom, you're reiterating what's already there, right? But with words. 3-bedroom, brick ranch, covered porch. When you come inside, open floor plan, kitchen that leads to a den, 1 bath, full basement, detached garage, great backyard. Come and check it out. Right? It can be that simple, but put something, put a couple sentences, because at the end of the day, no matter what the house is, it's our duty to get it sold. So when you put nothing or you don't fill it out, it just is really a disservice to the clients. If you're not creative, ask for help. I ask Andy for help all the time. Like, dude, what would you put for this? What do you think for this? Like, definitely don't ever feel like, oh, just because I've been doing this for a million years means I never have to ask for help. Make sure you upload the extra docs. And one thing that a lot of people don't know is if you take a listing from someone else, you have to re-upload the disclosures again. So if Andy had a house listed and then I just changed it over to me being the listing agent, those disclosures have to be uploaded again or else you'll get fined for it. It's just like a freak thing in the system. And then, of course, giving the front desk the showing information. So what to do once you've listed a house. Open houses. This is like a sense of contention among some agents, but I will tell you, I hear more often than not people getting clients from open houses. Erica did an open house for me. She got 2 buyers and a listing from the one open house. Tom, you did an open house for me in Canton and got a listing and a buyer and something else from it, I believe, of my, yes, there you go. So open houses work. Just because at some point in time, maybe you did 1, maybe you did 10 that didn't work. Open houses work. You will get buyers and sellers from them. If you do them right, you must market your open houses. Flyer the area homes, put it in the local businesses. Let me and Kim know because I'll boost it on Facebook. I will pay to boost your open house, but I can only do that if you email me and say, hey, Tricia, I'm having an open house on Tuesday at 4 o'clock, okay? So make sure you do because we'll make sure we extra advertise it for you. Put it on a flyer and put it up here. Throw it on Craigslist. I don't know if anybody's on there anymore, but it doesn't hurt. Reverse prospecting. I have agents call me all the time like, hey, I'm having an open house, your buyers, blah, 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 blah. Make sure you email out to the office. Not all the agents do that, but it's definitely a benefit because there's a lot of, obviously, we have almost 90 agents now. They grow every single month. And a lot of them are super part-time, but that doesn't mean that they don't have a friend that's looking for a house in Livonia, right? And they don't know about it because they're never in here and they don't know who you are. So it's important to email out to the office. And then advertising in the conversation section in a lot of like the Facebook Zillow or the groups in Facebook, those are huge to get into those groups in Facebook. So there's some big ones, obviously. Downriver, Livonia, like the community Facebook pages. Those are the big groups that you'll want to advertise in. And they can really go crazy. When I had that one house downriver, that like 10-acre one, there were so many comments that after like 4 hours, they actually deleted mine because it had like over 1,000 comments and shares and views. So they can go really crazy on there. Get in those groups. There is something to be said about those groups and what you can do on the Facebook groups. Quick glance seller sheet. So guys, this is pretty awesome. This is in your, if you go onto our Elite Realty website, there is what's called the skills pack on the website. You guys should all go check that skills pack out because it has 2 quick glance sheets and they're like checklists and they literally walk you from your intake all the way to your post close so that you can say, hey, I intook it, I pulled the PRD, the BSA, the old listing tickets, I made the CMA, I pulled the charts. Like you won't miss anything if you utilize these quick glances. Like it even, reminds you to do a thank you card. Like I would take, if you guys keep paper files, I know not everybody does anymore because everybody's paperless, but if you do, this is what I would have on the front of all your files so that you can just checklist through and then you never miss anything. Obviously, the more organized you are, the better. And this covers it. Did I order the sign? Did I put the MLS in? Like these are common sense things, but we're busy people, so you might forget something. So use these. Use these quick glance sheets. There's one for sellers and one for buyers. And I went really fast, but that's all I have for you guys. Questions? Comments? No?
How do you differentiate doing CMAs for tri-level basements? How do you compare square footage is what I'm preferring.
For a colonial versus a tri-level?
Yeah, so it'd be a big quad level. So
Do you have like a specific one that you're thinking of in your mind?
just done many times.
We have to compare.
Yeah, so we don't have that ability.
So when you have a white elephant like that, right? A lot of times you're going to have to do like a mixture of a price per square foot and what you have on the market with active inventory. So that's where it's going to come down to, hey, Mr. Seller, here's what there is, here's what's sold, here's what the price per square foot breaks down to, and here's the the range of where I think you're going to fall in. Where were you thinking you wanted to start at? Which you would have already done from the first phone call, because on the first phone call, you're going to ask, do you have a price in mind? That's the number one question you're asking. Do you have a price in mind? Because everybody already has a price in mind. And when you ask that question, is like literally question number one, that's going to form how you take every other question from then on, because you're going to be on a defensive or an offensive stance, right? You're going to be on a defensive stance if they say, well, I think it's worth $450,000, and you look and it's worth $250, right? But if they say, I think it's worth $450,000, you pull those comps and it's worth $550, then that's a whole different story, which I know sounds crazy, but it does happen sometimes. I went to go list a lady in Redford, and she's like, yeah, I was hoping to get like 65. I'm like, well, you're in luck because you're getting like 90. And she's like, what? But, you know.
So I went on a listing presentation per se, appointment or whatever. A few weeks ago, I asked them if they had a price in mind. They did. When I went there, I actually told them they could sell it for a little bit more. They didn't ever list with me, nor with anybody else.
So you need to dig deeper on that, why you want to list, right?
Well, they want to buy something bigger.
Well,
But said that they were going to be talking with other agents,
that's what I'm saying.
but they still have never listed. So actually, I'm getting ready to get
For
them
a daylight
Yeah.
try, they would.
So those are people I keep calling back and digging deeper on that. Why do you want to move? You say you want to get something better. So what would be that perfect house for you, and helping them find that perfect house for them first before you go
Yeah, they don't
in.
even have to do that. They have where's to go. Like that was not even a concern. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, why aren't they listing? Whether it's with me or if they've interviewed other agents, what's holding them back?
Yeah.
Something is holding them back.
Yeah. You just have to ask more questions in that case. And obviously this is one of those things where, just like Cardone always says, like, they didn't give you all of the story yet. We got to keep digging deeper on those questions, because it may be, we don't know that we'll actually get approved for a new house. Like, yes, we'd like to sell this and get into something bigger, but do we have the means? Are we ready? Is that really the reason? Are we worried about, are we going to get in the right school zone? Do we actually have enough money down right now together? Maybe it's about this house. I'm afraid they're going to make me do too many repairs. I've had that a lot. I've gone on listing appointments, and then I'm like, well, you know, what's going on, guys? You guys, well, you know, we just don't want to have to do the work. And I'm like, you don't have to do any work, guys. Like, you know, so a lot of times it's that they think in their mind, because back in the 80s, they had to do all this work to get it ready, or even in the 2000s, the city required this, but now the city doesn't have that anymore. So a lot of times it's just misconceptions of the market or to-dos, or you never know. That's why you got to really dig deep with those first questions that I had up there at the, you know, more than one level, right? Like an onion. We're going to keep peeling away those levels, and we never just let them say that first question. Okay, so you say you want to move because you need a bigger house. All right, great. So if tomorrow we went out and I found you a bigger house, is there anything that would keep you from writing on it? Well, we don't know if we have enough for that yet. Okay, so let's call Greg and see about finances, so you know how much you would need to be able to go to that step. And keep asking, okay, well, if it's not that, we get you approved. Is there anything, if I get you approved tomorrow by my mortgage guy, is there anything else that would keep you from writing? Well, I wanted to wait till the kids get out of school. Okay, now we know it's time, right? It's not that we want a bigger house, it's actually the time. So, I found like a lot from just my experience just recently in buying, right? Like when we sat in here and we practiced that last time, I was like, oh, it must be fixtures. But then when I went out and started looking, I'm like, well, I could probably get over this for that. But then when I like actually burned down on it and was like, am I going to write on this? No, I'm not. I really can't get around that, right? And then I was like, area. Well, I actually don't want another area. All right, I'll look at these other areas. Well, then when I actually drove out there twice, I was like, no, I really don't want this other area. You know, so it's like what you think in your mind. And then when it actually comes down to, am I actually going to write on this? Like every house I went and seen that I thought I really liked, I went and seen 3 times before I would go any further to the next house. So there was multiple houses that I went and looked at 3 times in 2 days. And then I was like, I'm like, this is the house. And then I was like, no way. And then I go to the next one, you know? And so, but that was good. That was hard for me to do because I'm a person that wants to just get things done. So I would make myself, then I would take someone else, and then I would take Trent. So I would go 3 times before I was sure of what I wanted to do. Like Andy sent me the house I ended up writing on. I went and looked at it by myself. Dave sent it to me. I said, no, I didn't like it when I first looked through it. Andy sent it to me again. It was like, what about this house? So I was like, Dave, go look at it. And then I went back again before I did. So it's like, and that was my process with every single one. So hang on, let me stop this recording. I tell you. Stop video.
Oh yeah, close Van Land.